Hey Infotech students, this is Mrs. Pancoke here. We're going to be starting Access Lesson 1. Just a reminder that you might want to go to File Explorer and then actually go to our public drive, find the Pancoke folder. Inside Infotech 1 you should see an Access folder. This time I went ahead and made different lesson folders for you. So all you need to do is copy this whole folder and go ahead and put it in your Z drive, hopefully under your Infotech folder. Right click and paste. Okay, and you should have an Access folder similar to mine. Now I went ahead and moved my book outside of the folder. You can leave it inside this Access folder if you like, or if it makes more sense for you to add your book right here, go ahead and do that. So first thing, I'm going to go ahead and open up my Access book. Now if your book opens up and it's this screen, remember you can minimize it. Also, for those of you who are new with us, whenever we open up our book, we always want to go to Open With and choose Adobe Acrobat Reader. If you open it and it looks like it's opened in the internet or like with Microsoft Edge, close out and retry to open it. The reason we want to open our book with Adobe Acrobat Reader is so we can have access to bookmarks and other features that the other version just doesn't have. So for instance, over here under bookmarks, we're going to be working on lesson 1, so I'm going to go ahead and click on lesson 1 in my book, and it tells us that we're going to be working in Access interface, selecting tools and commands, and defining data needs and types. So this is all about the essentials in Access, and for now I'm going to close out of that folder. I want to have this area open so when I get started here I can begin working in my Access program. So before you begin working in Access, you will need to be familiar with the primary user interface. Just like in Word and Excel, we have a ribbon at the top, and on the ribbon there are different tabs, as you can see here. We have the Quick Access toolbar just like before, but it's a little bit different in that we now have a navigation pane, which is over here to the left, and we have a work area, which is basically, it looks like Excel with different cells in it, but this is actually a table, not a worksheet. And so there's a few differences between Excel and Access. So getting started, it says here that a database is a tool for collecting and organizing information. For example, as a database, a phone book organizes a large amount of data, names, address, and phone numbers. So you can access it by name in alphabetical order. Even a grocery list is a simple type of database. A computerized database management system, which is what Access is, enables you to easily collect a large volume of data organized into categories of related information. This type of database allows you to store, organize, and manage your data no matter how complex it is, and then retrieve it and present it in various formats using reports. Using a DBMS to organize data gives you the power to manipulate, view, and report the data in a way that other applications like spreadsheets and word processing documents cannot. So, we are fortunate enough to use Office 2016, so you guys are using the newest version of Access, and we're going to go down here to our step-by-step where it says Start Access in Windows 10, which we're already in Windows. I like to personally just type in Access right here. There's the program. It'll start up. First thing I usually like to do is make my window a little bit smaller so I can kind of view both parts on my screen. Okay. So when we open up Access, the first thing that we see is the start screen. Alright, and then it says we're going to scroll on down to page, see, I can't see my page numbers, page 4, and go ahead and open up Access. So and get it rearranged so it looks like this. And I'm on the bottom of page 4. So the first step here says to click the Open Other Files button on the left-hand side. And we're going to browse. And I'm going to go to my Infotech, Access, Database folder, and I'm going to open up Lesson 1. And we're going to choose Student Information and click Open. Okay, it says your figures might look slightly different depending on which folder you have stored your files in. As a part of Access 2016 security model, when you open a database outside of a trusted location, a message bar usually appears warning you that certain content has been disabled. Okay, so you know, we did have ours saved in our data files, so that picture's similar. I'm going to keep scrolling down here. It says take note, each time you start Access 2016, you open a new instance or a copy of Access. You can only open one database at a time in a single instance of Access. So we can't have multiple Access programs running down here. In other words, you can't start Access, open one database, then open another database. Not without first closing the first database. Alright, software orientation. Okay, so over here, this is our navigation pane. We're going to be working out of here. So, for instance, this little button here opens the navigation pane menu. Okay, the shutter bar opens and closes the navigation pane. Then we have a search bar, so we can search for different items within our database. And then we have different sections. First section is tables, then we have forms, and then we have reports. These arrows will expand or contract the different sections as well. Okay, so the navigation pane enables you to open, copy, and delete tables and other database objects. So these each are objects, tables, forms, and reports. It also lists all the objects in your database, including the table. There's also a query, which isn't shown in this particular database, forms, and reports. So queries allow you to search and retrieve the data you have stored. Forms control data entry and data views and provide visual cues that make data easier to work with. And reports present your information in ways that are most useful to you. Alright, so we're going to use the student information database that we already opened. In the navigation pane, it tells for us to double click students to display the table. So this is a table. Tables are basically the most basic database object. It just stores all of your information and data in different categories. So our categories right now are last name, first name, email, and ID. It says to click the down arrow next to all access objects at the top of the navigation pane, which is right here, to display the menu as shown. Okay. Take note, the navigation pane divides your database objects into categories, and those categories contain groups. The default category is object type, which groups database objects by their type, such as tables, forms, reports, and so on. You can change the category to tables and related views, which groups the objects in a table by the tables to which they are related. Alright, you can also change the category to one of several other views shown in figure 1-7. So we're going to change it to tables and related views. The default group in this category is all tables, which appears in the menu at the top of the navigation pane. Notice that Students table and all other objects related to it are displayed under the Student Objects tab. Okay, so we have Students as our object, so all of our pieces of information are now stored under this particular table, which is our Students table. It says click the down arrow next to all tables in the navigation pane, and we're going to click on object type, which then sorts it by different types of objects. Next, we're going to right click in the white area of the navigation pane to display a shortcut menu. So I'm just right clicking with my mouse down here, and we're going to click view by, and we're going to choose details. Okay, the database objects are displayed with details. Right click the right side of the navigation pane and drag it to make it wider so all the information can be read. So I'm just going to click right here. I'm going to drag this so I can read all of the information. Well, we can move it to about right there. Okay. If the search bar does not appear at the top of the navigation pane, which mine is, if yours isn't, click all access objects and then make sure you have a check mark next to right click I guess you have to right click right here. And make sure you click search bar. So when I click that, the search bar goes away. When I click on it, it comes back. Let's see. So we want to have our search bar up there. And it says right click in the white area of the navigation pane, and we're going to choose view by, and we're going to choose now list. Okay, in the shortcut menu. It says to click the shutter bar open and close button to collapse the navigation pane. Notice that it's not entirely hidden as shown in figure 9-1, so we can still see this bar right here, but in order to open it, we just click on the shutter to reopen. Okay, so click the shutter bar open close to expand the navigation pane. It says pause, leave the database open to use in the next exercise. Okay, now we're going to be using object tabs. Okay, so when you create a database and access all the objects in that database, including forms, tables, reports, and queries, are displayed in a single window separated by tabs. Okay, our tabs are going to appear right along here. So for right now, we only have students open, so I can only see the students tab. So in the navigation pane, double click student details. A new tab object opens to display the form. And then in the navigation pane, we're going to double click all students. A new object tab displays all students report tab along with the two others. So I have 3 tabs now. It says to click the close button on the report tab to close it. So if I just want to close for my report, the all students, I would only click this little X right here. I don't want to close out of access, I only want to close the reports object. So I'm going to click that to close it. Then it says right click the student details tab to display the shortcut menu. So right click with your mouse. This will allow you to save the object, close the object, or close all objects. Or not change the object view. It says to close the form. So I'm just going to click close. So just like clicking this X, I can also click close to close out of it. Pause, leave the database open to use in the next exercise. Changing views is what we're going to be working on next. And right here it says that a data sheet is the visual representation of the data contained in a table or the result returned by a query. And we're going to change views using the ribbon. And the ribbon, when you change views, the commands available on the ribbon change context to match the task you'll be performing in that view. So we're still using Student Information Database. It says on the Home tab in the Views group, so we have Views over here, we're going to click the down arrow on the View button and we're going to change it to Design View. Okay, so I have Data Sheet View and I have Design View. Think of Design View as kind of like behind the scenes. The table is displayed in Design View. Notice that the Design tab is now displayed in the ribbon. So now we have Design tab open up here at the top. On the Design tab, in the Views group, click the drop down arrow and change it to Data Sheet View. So oftentimes you're going to be switching between Design View and Data Sheet View. Next, on the ribbon in the Tables Tools group, we're going to click the Fields tab. On the ribbon in the Table Tools group, so we should be in Data Sheet View. Okay, and then we are going to click in Table Tools. We're going to click on Fields to display the contextual commands for that view. So these are all of the different commands for Table Tools fields. Okay. It says that a command is a tool such as an icon, a button, or a list that tells Access to perform a specific task. So think of commands as like these buttons that you see on the ribbon. Let's see. Access also offers tools and commands on the File menu, such as Backstage View. So when we click File, remember we are going to Backstage View. And it says, in this section you'll explore the ribbon which displays different groups. So just like in Word and Excel, we have different groups on each of the individual tabs on our ribbon. And at times you'll also see dialog box launchers, just like in Word and Excel. Alright, so we're using the Student Information Database. I'm going to click on the Home tab to make it active. As shown in Figure 1-12, the ribbon is divided into groups and commands. Notice that the Dialog Box Launcher in the lower right-hand corner of the clipboard group. Okay, it says click the Create tab to make it active, and notice the different groups and the commands on the Create tab. Click External Database. Okay, this is like that importing of information. And then click Database Tools. Okay, to see all of those tabs. And eventually we're going to go back to the Home tab. And on the Students Objects tab, so we're on Students Objects tab, click the ID column header. So I'm going to click right here on this ID column header to select the ID column. And then we're going to click the Dialog Box Launcher in the lower right hand corner of the Text Formatting group. Okay, it's going to open up the dialog box. Notice that we can change background color, change grid line color, all sorts of things. We're going to click Cancel to close this dialog box, and we're going to double click the Home tab. Notice that the groups are hidden to give you more screen space to work with your data. And double click Home tab again to display the groups. Next, we're going to hit the File tab, and we're going to close the database. Okay, so when we do that, Access appears but with no databases open. Okay, troubleshooting, it says if you click the close button in the upper right hand corner, Access closes and you will have to reopen it for the next exercise. Take note, you can customize the ribbon to have greater control over the commands that appear on it by turning off tabs and groups you rarely use. So next we're going to be using Backstage View or the File tab. Alright, and so I'm going to click on File, and I'm going to click on Open, and we're going to navigate to the student data database from your file. So I'm going to go to Browse, and this time it opens right to my folder that I want to be in. Make sure it says Infotech, Access, Data Files, Lesson 1. I'm going to double click on Student Data. And next I'm going to click the File button again. Backstage View now displays a menu of options down the left side of the window and information about the currently open database. It says click the New option. Okay. And view the option and commands available. So here we can find new blank databases, or we can also find templates. Okay. Next we're going to click the Save As option to view more commands. Select Access Database if not already selected. We're going to click the Save As button. And it says all open objects must be closed prior to continuing this operation. Oh, okay. So if that pops up, I guess just click yes. And we're going to select the location to save our file in. So we want to make sure we go back here, and I'm going to click on my Access folder. I actually want to save this inside Lesson 1. So how I did that, I was in my data files, I was in my Lesson 1. I want to go back to Access and save it in Lesson 1 as student data dash final. Okay, and then we're going to click Save. Alright, and the file again, select the file again to reopen Backstage View. So we're going to go back to File, and then it says click the Print option to view more options and commands. Okay, it then says to click Account to view more options and commands. Okay, so you can change your theme, you can do all kinds of things right there. And then lastly, click Options here. Okay, and you can change your options just like you did in Excel and Word. I'm going to hit Cancel to close the Access Options dialog box, and it says to pause and leave the database open to use in the next exercise. Alright, so defining data needs and types. Okay, so in a database table, data is stored in rows and columns similar in appearance to spreadsheets. Each row is called a record, however. Each column in a table is called a field. For example, a table is named Student List. Each record or row contains information about the different students, and each field contains different type of information about a student, such as last name or email. Also, we have something down here called a primary key. For each table, you will choose a primary key. A primary key is a column that uniquely identifies each row. Most of the time, these are going to be ID numbers. In the case of students list, the primary key is student ID number, which it uniquely identifies each student. So even if a student has the same name as another student, that primary key or student ID will help to identify them and let us know which one is which. Okay, so use the student data dash final. Okay, we can tell that that's our document up here. And on the student list form, we're going to click the ID for record 5. Okay, so when I do that, notice that it kind of pops up with this form. Okay, to display the student details dialog box for Sharon Hep. We're going to click on the Guardian information and then click the Emergency Information tab. Each field on each tab is an example of the type of information that could be contained in a database table. Okay, so we have emergency information, we have Guardian information, we have general information. And all of these things in here are a field that relates to a table. It says to close the student details dialog box. I'm going to close that. Pause, leave the database open to use in the next exercise. Alright, so defining and modifying data types and fields. When designing a database, you set a data type for each field column that you create to match the information it will store. A data type controls the type of data a field will contain, whether it's text, number, date, time, or some other type of data. Okay, so this dialog box or this table, I guess, shows the different types of data. So like how we made a form in Google Forms, this allows you to change like what type of content you can add into the table. Take note, it says some of the available data types in Access 2016 can only be chosen in Table Design View and not from the Data Type drop-down menu on the ribbon. Take note, the short text data type and the long text data type each has a unique property and size limit. Okay, so example here, you can only have 255 characters, kind of like a text message or a tweet for the short text. For the long text, you can have many more characters. Okay, so it says use the student data final database that is open from the previous exercise. It says to close the student list form, so I'm going to right click and click close. And in the navigation pane, in the student group, we're going to double click Students Table to reopen it. Next, we're going to click the Date of Birth field header. Alright, so I'm going to scroll over to find date of birth. Okay, on the ribbon, in the Fields tab, notice in the formatting group that the data type is date and time. So data type over here says date and time. In the format box, we're going to click the down arrow and display a menu of formatting options for that type as shown in figure 1-7. We're going to click the last name header, so I got to scroll back over, choose last name. Notice that the data type says short text and that no formatting options are available for that type of data. Scroll to the right and click the address header, which is right here. And in the data type box, we're going to click the drop down arrow and we're going to choose short text to change the data type. Be aware that changing a data type might cut off some or all of the data in a field. In some cases, it might remove the data entirely. Because there's nothing in here in our table for this field, it's okay to go ahead and change it. Next, we're going to scroll all the way to the right where it says click to add. Okay, column header. And we're going to choose yes, no from the list. Once you click yes, no, notice that the name of the column header, field 1, is highlighted. Okay, we're going to rename the field by typing in the following. So additional contact info on file, question mark, press enter, and then click the additional contact header again. And then on the ribbon in the formatting group, we're going to click the down arrow and format to display the menu of formatting options for the yes no data type. Okay, it says click out, so we want it to be yes no. Okay, and then we're going to click out of it to close, to get rid of the menu. It says to pause, leave the database open to use in the next exercise. Next, we're going to be defining database tables. So we're using student data-final database, and it says that on the Tools tab, Database Tools tab, right here, Database Tools tab, in the Relationship group, we're going to click Relationships to display a visual relationship between the students and guardians table. So we have a guardians table right here. We also have a students table, and they are linked. Okay. And this little graphical representation represents the link. Okay. So basically, a relational database stores information in separate tables, and these tables are connected or linked by a defined relationship that ties the data together. So their ID, both of these have the same ID, but their ID is linked to the name of the student, to the guardians table. As we work with relationships in the future, this will hopefully make a little bit more sense. But it says to close the Relationships tab, and then we're going to close the Students tab. And if you don't have the Students List tab open, go ahead and close that as well. It says stop, close the database, and access. So I'm going to close out of that. Alright, so an important principle to consider when planning a database is to try to record each piece of information only once. You do not want to put in duplicate information or redundant data. It wastes space and increases the likelihood of errors. Relationships among database tables help ensure consistency and reduce repetitive data entry. Says that normalization right here is the process of applying rules to your database, designed to ensure that you have divided your information items into appropriate tables. And database design principles include standards and guidelines that can be used to determine if your database is structured correctly. These are referred to as normal forms. There are 5 normal forms, but typically only the first 3 are applied because it is usually all that is required. Okay, so then you can see here about these normal forms. And we'll be talking more about that coming up. So go ahead and do the knowledge assessment on Schoology, and then we have 2 projects to work on. that I would like for you to do on your own. All right, good luck.